Good evening. It is Tuesday, November 5th at 6 p.m. I welcome everyone to the Judiciary and Administration Committee. For roll call, Councilmember Jessica Olson is excused, and Councilmember Weaver is excused this evening. Otherwise, welcome everyone. The first item before us, we will take out of order. There's a public hearing. 19-1519, an ordinance to amend subsection 115-110 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of La Crosse, transferring certain property from the multiple dwelling district to the public and semi-public district to closer match the existing use and future use of the parcel at 3501 Park Lane Drive. And I do not see anyone signed up here, but City Planning did approve that. So need a motion on that. Motion by Council President Gall to approve City Planning Report, seconded by Councilmember Podesky. Any discussion, changes? All right, all those in favor of that approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. And the next item is the 190906, an ordinance to create Division 6 of the Chapter 115, Article 7 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of La Crosse regarding solar energy systems. Now, we do have speakers on that, so I need a motion for a public hearing. Motion by Councilmember Neumeister, seconded by Councilmember Podesky for a public hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Wishing to speak in favor of the legislation is Lillian Hurling, 1516 Ferry Street.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Lily Hurling, and I am a co-founder of the Fridays for Future La Crosse chapter. The Fridays for Future movement was started by Greta Thunberg of Sweden and has spread to all corners of the earth. Formed in response to the overall lack of government action to address climate change, we seek to declare a climate emergency and to inspire governments everywhere to respond to that declaration. Like all who should be paying close attention to the climate emergency we are in, we know that transitioning to renewables, including solar energy, as fast as possible in all our cities and communities is urgent. Many of us youth closely follow each week's news and science because we understand that our own lives and well-being are at stake. In essence, we are doing our homework on humanity's present and future challenges, and therefore its present opportunities to create a sustainable world. This summer, in fact, as reported by Reuters news agency on Saturday, July 28th, esteemed climate scientist Michael Mann again urged governments to treat the transition to renewable energy with equivalent urgency that drove the U.S. industrial mobilization in World War II. Yet Reuters reports that no major economy has taken heed. In fact, the work of Michael Mann and his group at the Earth System Science Center at the Pennsylvania State University indicates that we might have as much as 40% less carbon left to burn than the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change implies if we are to avert the 1.5 Celsius warming limits, which may keep our planet more livable. Therefore, we urge our own city of La Crosse to transition to renewable energy with the utmost speed possible, and we welcome your committee's unanimous vote in favor of the new solar energy systems ordinance today. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, it's a total of 15 minutes, 3 minutes per side. Thank you. Next speaker would be Josie Talbest, 326 North 14th Street, UWL student.
Good evening, committee members. My name is Josie Talbert. I am a current resident of La Crosse, originally from the city of Stoughton, Wisconsin. I am a student at UWL, and I'm here tonight with other young people of La Crosse to ask for your support of the new city ordinance for solar energy systems. By being here today, my fellow students and I are trying to make a difference in our community. We're advocating for policies that will help to make La Crosse a place that values the natural world, public health, safety, and inclusivity, among other things. I came to La Crosse in order to attend UWL, and I never expected to feel so connected to a community and environment so quickly. Whether students moved here, like me, or grew up here, we're all hoping that you'll vote in a way today that can make us proud to say that we're connected to this city that we call home. Several of us were also here recently to support and witness the unanimous passage of resolution committing the city of La Crosse to 100% renewable energy, as well as carbon neutrality throughout the city and the community by no later than 2050. We believe this new solar ordinance will greatly help La Crosse start to reach those goals and even surpass them in terms of time. With each year taken from our future, each warning from a climate scientist, each class preparing us for a future full of heat waves, flooding, and natural disasters, we students know that the climate emergency requires nothing less than swift action of leaders at all levels of government. We thank you for your continued leadership and for your vote in favor of the ordinance for solar energy systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker does have it circled, Kyle Seabrick. Is that pronounced correctly?
Swarbrick.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
1032 Redfield Street.
I have some materials that might help you all if that's something I could give out.
Sure, go ahead, Larry, if you could help. Thank you. You can go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Kyle Swarbrick. I'm representing Winona Renewable Energy and the owner, my boss, Tim Golden. We are a family-owned company. It's been in business for about 10 years. We do business in and around the La Crosse area, and then obviously across the river in Minnesota quite a bit. The reason that we are here is we definitely would like to see this put in place. We support the ordinance. However, there were a couple of items that we would like to see addressed, or I don't know if that has to be done via an amendment or what is possible, but there are two items specifically that I don't know if hindrance is the right word, but it's not in the spirit of making things expedited or streamlined, we'd like to see happen. One of the issues that we're here to speak about is the building code requires an engineering sign-off over here, and this is the only jurisdiction out of about 24 that we've dealt with that requires this. Some of the more larger progressive municipalities, Minneapolis and St. Paul specifically, there's a sheet in the folder that I handed out. It's called an expedited permit process for small-scale PV. This was adopted nationally and also regionally in Minnesota, in Iowa, where if all the information on that sheet can prove that we are not doing anything more than 5 pounds per square foot, the permit is usually issued on the spot. And I found out earlier this year here in La Crosse that's not the case. And one of the main concerns is that it slows the process down for getting solar installed. So we're hoping that there can be some sort of amendment, or maybe to even just adopt something that's already put in place and has been in place for, I believe, about a decade. The other side of, or the other issue here is the roof access requirements regarding the solar panels. We've worked with many municipalities, the La Crescent Fire Station being one of them, where they don't require borders or they will not ask for them as long as there is some sort of roof access. In fact, the Winona Fire Department, La Crescent, and a few others that we reached out to, they don't even like to get on the roofs anymore if they can help it. They'll side vent instead of vent from the top. One aspect, or another aspect of the rooftop, I think it was a roof access requirement with setbacks from the roof edges, that's roof space that otherwise could have been used for solar panels. So here specifically in La Crosse this year, as potential customers, La Crosse residents have come to us, it wouldn't pencil out for them. They wouldn't. Typically, you want to make your electricity bill or utility bill go away. That's why people get into solar, aside from the other great benefits for everybody. But with what is required currently and what would go into the ordinance, we'd be looking at 20 to 30% less available roof space. If that is the case, then there's a lot of people that will not be able to have solar. It just will not pencil out. They won't be able to cover their electrical load. So we would hope to see that, or if something could be worked out with the authority having jurisdiction here, the building department and the fire department working together to come up with some sort of system or standard where if we meet certain requirements, then you can just cover the roof and help everybody out. We understand safety is a concern there. We've just heard from enough fire departments and municipalities that they don't require the setbacks from the roof edges and the ridges and things of that nature. We would like this to be a win for everybody. That's our goal. Aside from just more solar being put in, we don't care who does that, as long as it's going in. And I'm here to answer any questions that you all might have, but that was the gist of why I am here.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? No, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeanette Dean is our next speaker in favor of the legislation, 103 North Deer Avenue, Caledonia, Minnesota.
Yes, thank you. Hello, honorable committee members, including Chair Andrea Richmond. I am Jeanette Dean from Houston County, Minnesota, across the river, and I am a La Crescent High School graduate and an alumni of the University of Southern California and the University of Nevada, Reno, near Lake Tahoe. And that reminds me so much of the beautiful four seasons we also have here, which we want to keep. So I recently returned to the area in 2016 and now live in Caledonia. And that's why I'm so pleased to be here today to help represent those in the greater La Crosse region as well. We want to thank you, committee members, again, and the full council for unanimously passing the city's momentous new resolution 190471 for carbon neutrality and 100% renewable energy in the city of La Crosse. Many of us work, live, and play here, and what happens here means so much to our lives as well. So I come here again to ask you to please also pass Ordinance 190906 today, which is also sponsored by Mayor Tim Cabot. Which will support and prioritize solar energy systems in La Crosse as one of the most key ways the city can quickly fulfill its goals for 100% renewable energy and carbon neutrality. And I'd also like to add, we're very happy to hear that so many other city buildings will be adding solar in their plans as well. So we'd like to thank you, and please keep up the great work.
Thank you. Mike Kurska of 1009 Writers Club Road, Onalaska.
Hello, thank you. I represent Olson Solar Energy, and I would like to 100% echo Kyle's comments from before, so I won't be redundant in that matter. This past Friday, Barb Jansen, myself, Brandon Olson, our co-founder, and our marketing and office manager, Shannon, had a meeting. This meeting produced an email with notes, pretty much exactly what Kyle has been talking about, so I'm sure Barb's going to pass it on to all of you in the near future. Thank you. I don't have anything to add other than I think you're headed the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have those registered in favor of the legislation is Kathy Van Maren, 2815 Highland Street. And Bennett Shapiro in favor, 415 North 6th Street, La Crosse. Ben Wilson, 116 South Rock Avenue, Viroqua, Wisconsin. David Holmes, 1421 State Street, representing UWL Student Association. Isaac Inkster, 1108 State Street, UWL student. Megan Hickenbotham, 211 16th Street North, La Crosse, UWL student. And Brandon Olson, also 1009 Writers Club Road on Alaska, in favor of the legislation. That's all the speakers I had. Was there anyone else that didn't get a chance to sign up? No? Okay. So we need a motion to close the public hearing. Motion by Council President Gall, seconded by Councilmember Newmeister to close. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So what is the pleasure? Go ahead, Councilmember Newmeister.
Thank you. I just, obviously we have, they bring up two good points that I just want to make sure we're clear on. Either we pass this as is, we can't make an amendment here. We can?
Oh, sure.
Okay, but I don't know if that's safe to make an amendment without the fire department and everything involved in this on something their end. So yeah, I guess I just want to make sure that if we pass this, are we able then to add these two stipulations to it in the following month? Or do we have to refer this again for another 30 days? And is that the smart thing to do to make sure that when we adopt this, if we adopt it, when we adopt it, that it's correct and all the language is correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Podesky.
Thank you, Chairman Richmond. Chief, would you mind coming up to the podium and give us your nickel version, as Mr. Becker used to say?
I had a feeling. Thank you. The fire department certainly supports sustainable energy and solar panels. However, we have building codes and fire codes. We're following NFPA 1 regarding the spacing and needs. I think as we look at solar energy, it's still an energized source on top of a roof. We've got tactical considerations if a structure's on fire for ventilation. The solar panel units themselves can cause fire issues where we have to get up and deal with that. So we hang our hats on just enforcing the codes that the city's adopted in place. I know that Assistant Chief Snyder, who's really my deputy fire marshal, met with Lewis Coleman from planning. I spoke with him this morning, and it sounds like the planning department and the fire department are on the same page now moving forward with where we're at. But any further amendments, I'd want to refer back to our building code officials to make sure that we're addressing those points point by point versus doing a lifetime here in council.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Chief. Go ahead, Council President Gall.
Chief, I don't think I have any questions for you, but if I do, I know where you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mayor, I'd kind of like to have your feeling. I guess my thought, Scott, you're right. I mean, we surely are not equipped to throw some amendments out there to address this because there's too many questions about that. But with that said, I would like to have Tim, I mean, you've been kind of instrumental in getting this done, and I'd like to hear your opinion on that. To my way of thinking, it would seem that there would be another way to do this. I think there could be some consideration given to moving this forward in its current state, possibly see if there were amendments next week. But if there were not, it would still be to our benefit, I think, to pass this regardless, because it can always be amended at a later date if we find out that we have the ability to do that and get our departments involved in that. But, you know, and everything that the speakers said this evening makes perfect sense to me, and I surely understand the space constraints, which has been, that subject has been brought up before. But here again, we don't have the expertise here to address that, but it may be something that we can look at in the future because Tim, I mean, with all the older homes and stuff like that we've got in the city, anything we can do to magnify the amount of solar that is able to go there without causing any safety issues or anything else, we should look at doing if we can. But with that said, I think that what's in front of us right now is a step in the right direction and can be changed in a relatively quick fashion should we feel the need to do so in the future. But Tim, I would like you to comment.
Is that okay?
Go ahead, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with Council President Gall. I think I would urge the committee to go forward and adopt the proposed ordinance. This has been referred. There is an amendment in Legistar to refer or to recognize the National Fire Building Code as a part of this, and there's a few places where that is referenced. Between now and next Thursday, if we want to look at any other language changes to address the issues that were raised tonight, we can definitely do that. I'm not familiar with the expedited permit process, and even though the river is a few blocks away and Minnesota is not that far from us, they do have it's a different state, and there's just different rules and regulations that come into play. And I know in many cases Minnesota has been a bit more progressive when it comes to these renewable energy sources as compared to the state of Wisconsin. So I would urge you to adopt it as amended. That's the Legistar proposal, and then between now and next week we can get with planning and with the fire department to look at any additional changes. And I guess I'm curious as to the result of the meeting with Councilmember Jansen and others to see if there's any specific language or recommendations that she has for tonight. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Jansen.
Rather than rush this, what I would like to do is share the comments that I received recently and from that meeting, and have a meeting with Chief Schneider and planning, and see if we can come up with some easy adjustments to fine tune this. This is good legislation. I just think we can make it easier for our residents without duplicating some things that are already going on.
Go ahead, Councilor Gall.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve, and I believe that Ms. Kalo would like to speak on the amendment.
We have a motion by Council President Gall to approve. We have a second by Councilmember Podesky. Go ahead, Councilmember Kalo.
There's just a couple small amendments that are in Legistar, and I would like to amend the legislation to include those, and that is all.
Okay, so you're making the motion to amend what is in Legistar and in front of us to include the wording, and I have that in front of me, and insert 115-1 and 614, include the NFPA roof access requirements and must meet the clearance requirements of the NFPA, and seconded by Council President Gall. And also there's one other one that needs to be inserted, compliance with NFPA. All photovoltaic systems shall comply with the NFPA. So I think that was it. So all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. That motion is carried. And on the main motion, go ahead, Council President Gall.
I'm gonna make the motion that we go ahead and approve that as amended, but I am also going to ask that in this week, there seems to be a lot of work. If we can get something next week, that would be great. But let's not, we need to keep it moving, even if it's something that happens after next week. But if there's something that's out there, Ken, are you raising your hand for a reason, or you're just waving at me? Okay, thanks. All right. So anyway, I would move it as amended.
Okay. So go ahead, Councilmember Newmeister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Councilmember Jansen. You had said that you'd rather have us slow down and make changes. What are you asking for a 30-day? Are you okay with us passing it and hopefully get this done by the time that it hits Council's desk?
No, I'm fine with approving it. I just think that there are some minor changes that we can make, and hopefully make some amendments for next week.
Okay. All right. I think we did. Was there a second? Yes. Okay. Pardon me? Chris Kalo made the motion on the amendment. And that was seconded by... Right. Great. Okay. All right. All those in favor of the main motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Motion carried. Thank you. All right. Okay. Next one is 19-1451, certified survey map all of the lots 3, 4, and 5, Block 1, Maryvale Addition, located in the northwest-northeast section 16, T15 North, R7W, Town of Shelby, La Crosse County, Wisconsin, 2600 and 2606 Ward Avenue, tax parcels number 11 -1434-0, 11-1433-1, 11-1432-0. Motion on that? I can, sure. All right. I need a motion. Yeah. And I don't believe that. Did that go to city planning as well?
I made the motion, we need a second.
Okay. Okay, motion by Council President Gall, seconded by Councilmember Podesky. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. 19-1531, an ordinance to repeal and recreate section -589, parent C, create section 10-591, parent B, create section 10-594, parent I, and create section 10-622. Parent D of the Code of Ordinances of the City of La Crosse regarding vehicles for public conveyance.
Move to approve.
Motion by Council President Gall to approve, seconded by Councilmember Kalo. Any discussion? Go ahead, Mayor Cabot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to provide a very brief explanation of why this is before you. There were some questions and perhaps some inconsistencies in regards to the charges for people that were in wheelchairs or mobility devices when it came time for taxi service, as well as questions about whether service animals could be served as a part of that. So this ordinance was really intended to identify a maximum charge for a wheelchair trip at $10 per trip, and that is something that we talked about with people in the know, as well as looking at other communities. And then the other language, there's some, I think, just clarification on the maintenance of taxi cabs, both inside and out. I know that has caused a bit of concern and controversy in the past, but I believe the language that is proposed here hopefully clarifies that and is not an onerous burden on any cab company, but really as a matter of making sure that we have obviously clean and safe taxi service, as well as then the ability of people in wheelchairs and mobility devices and with service dogs to be able to enjoy that service as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? All those in favor of the ordinance change, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. I'm going to skip down to the last one, 19-1575, various license applications pursuant to Chapters 4, 6, and 10 of La Crosse Municipal Code for the remainder of the license period 2019-20. I do have Tammy Flaherty and Joe Ketchaver, 1407 St. Andrews Street, in favor of the legislation only, but here to answer questions.
Move approval, subject to compliance.
Okay, motion by Council President Gall to approve, and seconded by Councilmember Newmeister, all subject to compliance. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. All right, now we are going back to 19-1540, an ordinance to create sections 103-138, parent E, parent 5, 103-169, parent D, parent 2, parent 3, and parent 4, and 103-229, parent E of the Code of Ordinances of the City of La Crosse relating to mechanical fees. Motion by Councilmember Podesky, seconded by Councilmember Kalo. Any discussion? Changes? No? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And we are back to an ordinance 19-1545, an ordinance to amend section 48-27 and 34-71 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of La Crosse regarding boat launching and parking fees for boat ramp parking lots. Gary Thurk of 206 Westview Place is here in favor of the legislation, but only here to answer questions. So, motion by Council President Gall to approve, seconded by Councilmember Newmeister. Any discussion on that? I guess I have a question. I don't know if it's Mr. Flatmeyer or if it's Gary or Mr. Trussoni. So with those changes, and I think we talked about this on the phone a little bit with Dan, so people can still come down to the boat ramps, but is there restrictions on where they can park if they're visiting people that are, having activities in that boat launching area?
Yeah, thank you. I believe the attachments you have with you designate the areas at the boat launch, the new parking areas in the boat launch facilities. To answer your question, there still are going to be areas at each facility. Well, I should say at West Copeland specifically is what you and I spoke about, where you can still park for free. What this does is kind of solves three problems for us. One, the most, I guess, frequent one that we see at our department is when vehicles or people with boat trailers pull in, they see vehicles parked in recommended boat trailer parking areas, and they say, well, the vehicle doesn't have to pay, but I'm paying to launch my boat, but I have no place to park. So now with this change in the ordinance, everyone that uses the designated area would have to pay for parking. The second issue, we did receive a letter from the Wisconsin DNR saying that we were not compliant with state statute of offering an annual pass at the launch facilities. So again, with these new pay stations that we are implementing, we now can offer us annual pass, season pass at each facility. So we come into compliance, and the DNR, we have their blessing with that to move forward. And then the third issue is parking at night. We have a lot of people in the community that wish to fish at night or camp on the river, and under the current situation, they can only be there until 11 o'clock at night. A lot of people aren't aware of that, even though it is signed. And after 11 o'clock, they end up receiving a $50 citation. With this new change, they will pay to park there, but they would not receive a citation. They're welcome to park there all night long.
Do you have a cost to establish a fee?
We do. That is going to be part of the fee structure going in front of F&P on Thursday night. That'll be with the city's fee structure. We do have the numbers here if you would like them. But
okay. Any questions? No? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. So we have a motion to adjourn by Council Member Podesky, sorry, seconded by Council Member Kalo to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay.